Hyannis, Massachusetts State Championship. Hyannis at the Hyannis Sprint. Sorry, I'm still letting people in. So if I seem distracted, I am. Let's see if we can get others in as we're going. All right. So let's see if I can get cooperation. There we go. So the athlete's guide, if you have not found it yet, it can be found at this address. Or you can go to hyannistriathlon.com, and then there's a big link at the top. You can click on it. You'll end up in the same place. If anyone wants to write it down, you can go for that. All right. So as I was saying before, this first part will be all about new stuff for the Hyannis Triathlon for this year, because it's a state championship. There are other things for Hyannis 2. Just because we're doing something this year for Hyannis 1 doesn't mean we're going to do it for Hyannis 2. So if you're doing both, you'll want to listen to that meeting as we get into September. All right. So the state championship has a few requirements. One thing is we are double dipping. So if anyone has been to any of our races before, and I always say no double dipping when it comes to awards, well, we don't have a choice. So USAT is requiring that if somebody wins an overall age group award, that they are also in their own age group. Otherwise, when the results go to USAT, they don't get to qualify for nationals because they're not in their age group, because that's how they judge it. So, so they have to stay in awards, which means if you're an overall winner, that's great. You get 2 awards. If you are in an age group and you are the 4th person to finish in your age group, and one of those 3 before you is an overall winner, you're still not going to get it. Normally it's like, oh yay, I got 3rd place because you had been able to move into that spot that had opened up. But in this case, that's not going to happen. So just want to warn you ahead of time. This year we have non-binary categories as well as male and female. We're doing that across all of New England Endurance Events races. They just run parallel to every other category. Not going to change anything except for those that have designated as non-binary, then you'll also get awards. Elite athletes. So again, this is more state championship stuff. Elite athletes are not eligible for age group championship awards. So if you have signed up as an elite athlete, that's no problem. But because the national awards are age group awards, and this is the state championship age group, you won't qualify. You'd still get, an award from us, but you are not eligible for moving on to nationals. So wanted to let you know about that. Other great changes. Clydesdale and Athena. This year they are requiring a weigh-in. There is Clydesdale is anyone who is 220 pounds or more and would like to be in that category for a male and would like to be in that category, then that's available. Or Athena would be female at 165. Because there's weights attached to those categories, they're requiring that we actually weigh people in. We'll try to do that as discreetly as possible. The good thing about that category is that it will be broken up into 3 age groups. And if you are Clydesdale or Athena, you will go back into age groups as far as nationals is concerned, if you are looking for eligibility for nationals. So for the awards, there'll be 39 and under, 40 to 59, and then 60 plus. So that's the great thing about that category. Hopefully that outweighs the whole weigh-in thing. The other thing, you guys can read this just as well, but I figure if you see it and you hear it, maybe it will sink in. Residents of other states are also eligible for awards. That's no problem. And then the age group nationals, I have that down there for you. I'm going to read all that, but it's like the 35%. So that is all good. And that's all directly related to this being state championship. All right. So one of the things that was strongly suggested from USAT about being a state championship was to add a duathlon. And we did. And we actually have quite a few participants in duathlon. So that is really fantastic. We're glad to hear that. Duathlon will start at the same time that the sprint swim starts, which is 7:30, but it will be on the road instead of at the water. So we can talk about it a little later if you are a duathlete and you're in this meeting, throw something in the chat if you have more of a question than that, if I didn't answer that in this slide. So, you start near the run out, will be on the road. You'll have a turnaround for that very first run because you're on the run course, and I'll show you in a minute. And then you'll actually come back in when you're going to your bike. You'll go back in around where you had started in that finish shoot. And then there's overall awards. There's a bunch of you, but not so many that we would do age groups. So, so we have overall awards. All right. And then the other new thing that we have is Splash and Dash. So this is for kids that are either 7 to 10 or 11 to 15. And it's an aquathon. So that means they swim and then they run and that's it. So this was a separate category. We do have some kids that kind of fall within that age group, but they're doing the regular race, the triathlon with all 3 disciplines. So for those that have signed up for the Splash and Dash, you've got to get in before the road closes, even though your wave is, or your start isn't going to be till like 8:30, but you won't be able to get in because the road closes. So make sure that you are in the parking lot by 7 o'clock. That way you can make sure you can get in, and then we'll have that registration back where the registration tents are, where everyone else is, from 6:45 to 7:30. Go to the help desk. That's where Steph Goalie will be, where she'll sign you in. Kids get they get a bib, but because there's no timing, we just want to make sure to identify them out on the course. It's essentially just a numbered blank bib, and they're gonna get to decorate it any way they want. So so they'll decorate their own bib. They'll get a race belt, swim cap. They don't have to wear the swim cap if they don't want to. Putting an adult swim cap on a 7-year-old might be hard. And then they get a transmission mat. They get a bunch of things, and they have their own special area in transition. So they won't be competing with adults for any space. And they get finisher medals when they cross the finish line, which others don't. I'm going to back that up one. There we go. Oops, sorry. So if you can see in this slide, the 7 to 10-year-olds, this is the course. I think it's also online. They swim right close to shore. They will be in chest deep water at most. Lifeguards for the little ones. The lifeguards are going to be standing in the water, so that way they're right there. They can grab anyone that needs it. They'll then run up the beach. They'll go through the finish arch, the swim finish arch, just like the adults do. They'll run up the beach. They'll go to their special area in transition, and then they're going to run out to the run course. They will see a gentleman and a boy in a wheelchair. So that's the easiest way to find him. He's going to be smack in the middle of the road, and he'll be cheering, and he's going to have a little sign that says Splash and Dash. And so the kids are going to run around him and then run back. So for the big kids, he's going to go up the road with his dad a bit, and that would be the same thing. The kids will run up the road. You can see the older 11 to 15-year-olds here. They're going to be in a little deeper water. They're going a little farther, and then they're going to run up the hill until they see Kai is his name. So you'll just run around Kai and come back down and go right through the finish chute. So that way everyone can cheer you on and you can get an award. All right. So the other new thing, which will only be for Hyannis 1 because it's a state championship and we don't have a choice. We have a penalty tent. So USAT is requiring a penalty tent. The race officials, the USAT officials, they're wearing like referee uniforms. They're on the back of the motorcycles. They're kind of obvious to spot. If you are drafting or doing something else illegal on the bike course in particular, they are going to get your attention. They're going to call out your number. They're going to show you a penalty card, which would be yellow, blue, or red. They will then, if you are not sure, well, what does that really mean? They'll explain that to you. Then after the bike, once you finish your bike, you rack your bike. Before you run, you're going to go to the penalty tent, which would be right here by the water on the way out on the run. And you've got to go, you have to check in. So you'll have to sign in, put your bib number, what time you came in, and then you've got to stay in that penalty tent for 1 to whatever the time penalty is. It's either 1 minute or 2 minute as a general rule. Once that time's over, you'll sign out and then you can start running. If you received a penalty, if the official said you get a penalty and you did not go to the penalty tent, you're disqualified. So you'll really want to make sure that if you have a penalty, you get in the tent. It will just be for, for that time limit, and then you'll be able to continue on. Again, this is not our rule. This is USAT rule. So we will not have this for other races. But for this one, we're kind of stuck with it. We
will have penalties.
We will have penalties
Just
for sure, but not a tent. The whole idea of having to stay in the tent and then the time that it takes to talk to you, that in itself is a penalty. So there's also good to know, and this is across the board. This is a new USAT rule. It'll be for every sanctioned triathlon. Drafting rules have changed. They used to be 3 bike lengths, which means if you are behind a bike, you need to stay now 5 bike lengths back. Otherwise, it's considered drafting. Once you're coming within the zone, you're like, all right, this guy's going too slow, and you want to get around him, you've got to do that within 20 seconds. You have to be able to get back to your position now in front of him within 20 seconds. As the person being drafted, you have to back off. If you don't back off, that's a penalty.
Person being passed.
The person being passed would get a penalty if they don't back off. The person passing needs to do that within 20 seconds or they get a penalty. So it's all about penalties. While we're on the transition map, I wanted to show any of our splash and dash participants that this is where the splash and dash transition will be. It's kind of within the big transition area. It will have green kind of cones are like tall. It will have a sign that says splash and dash. Adults are not allowed in here. This is for kids. It'll be right past the kiddie pools, which is where you can wash off your feet. The kids will then travel along and they'll run out right there. But I want to make sure that kids know exactly where that is. All right. Lobster pot challenge. So the USAT, one of the good things about state championship this year is that it's also the USAT club championship. So we've been doing the lobster pot team challenge, which we'll continue to do. And then we're combining that with the club challenge. So we have two different types of teams. We've got the younger and then this old folks and the tri clubs. So there's 2 different awards, and then there's different things those teams can get. We have a number of teams this year. We're super excited to have all the teams on board, and the scoring is a little bit different than it's been in the past. You can find that online, but it's a little more fair. So it's not just if you have the biggest team, you're automatically going to win. It's actually averaging the times or the places. So that's going to be a plus. And then there is a separate high participation banner. USAT is giving banners. So the team with the most players could still get a banner, but might not win the club challenge. All right, let's see. Oh, we're almost through with all of the changes for this year's Hyannis win. So our charity partner for 2022 is the Habitat for Humanity. I want to thank you all. At this point, we have raised $1,900 for Habitat for Humanity. So thank you very much. That's great. And that will just keep growing. And that's money that goes back to our local Habitat. If you want to learn more about Habitat, I think there's a card that will end up in your swag bag. All right, one last thing. This is the last slide before we move to the next section. Hydration on the course has typically been Gatorade. This year we are doing this really great product called Sport. It's natural, it's rice-based. It doesn't give you the tummy upset. We will have this out on the course for hydration along with water. If you want to purchase some, I'm not sure if you'd be able to get it before the race, but if you want to purchase it on your own, they are giving us a 50% discount. So that is absolutely huge. I've been using this product now since I first met Trisha from Sport back in January, and I absolutely love it. So you can see on the screen, CRNE is the discount code, and there's the website. So, so please, feel free to buy some, and you'll find it on the course. You'll meet Trisha at the race, and there will be samples in your swag bags. All right. So now we have, oops, I'm going to back you up again. Questions. I'm going to stop right there and get you off of, get that screen share off. And no questions, really, guys. All
Can I
right,
ask a question?
go ahead, ask.
I came late, so I'm super sorry. I saw the kids 11 to 15. Was that the splash and dash, or was that just kids doing the triathlon?
That's just the splash and dash.
Fine.
So,
Okay. All right.
yeah. So some kids that are like 13 signed up for age group, for like sprint, that those are completely separate.
Yeah. No, that's what my son wants. My son will be doing the sprint. I just wanted to. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So with the sprint, it's the high school championships as well. So I realized in our registration that we didn't separate that. We just figured, we'll go by age. But if your son is either on the lower side or the higher side of the high schools, of the high school age group, like 12 or 18, then let me know if he's in high school now. And that way, because they get the high school, there's a high school overall award besides the age groups. And so we'll want to make sure that, that everyone that's eligible for that has the opportunity to participate in it.
He's entering next year. I don't know if that would make him eligible.
That's perfect.
Yeah, you met him, Kathleen. It's Dima, Dimitri.
Oh yeah, he did.
So,
all right, no problem. So I will make
cool.
sure, I'm making a note right here. So there we go. Because otherwise I'll be sending you an email. So thank you. I appreciate it, Tony.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
There's a course question I think I could answer. It will be about whether or not the roads will be closed. Now, most every intersection on the bike, I say every intersection, certainly, and many corners on the bike are police protected as well as staffed by our volunteers. Same thing on the run course. Being that the bike course goes through 10 miles through 2 villages of Cape Cod, the police will reduce traffic. They will probably not eliminate it. You may notice areas where there's no traffic at all because the police have deemed we don't want anything there. You may be on areas where you'll see traffic coming in the other direction. You may see a car pass you on the road as you're moving along because, a lot of people, even though we have warning signs up all week, all around the neighborhoods there's people who just get in their car to go to the Stop and Shop and they're like, oh, wait, what's going on here? And so you always have to be aware. You always have to be careful when you're on your bike. But we do have a lot of people out there. I think we've got something like 40 volunteers and staff on the bike course, plus the police, as I said, at most every intersection. On the run, you should see very, very little traffic, but there's always that chance that a car will come along. So you have to be aware.
Right, and we'll go over the bike course and run courses in just a minute for those that aren't familiar with them. Elizabeth, it sounds like you might be new. I'll explain that backing off on the bike and penalties and things of that sort in our last section for anyone that and anyone else that's confused with penalties, because they do seem they can be confusing for someone who hasn't raced before. Oh, wait, sorry, that was Vanessa had asked that question. Same thing. So I'll, for both Vanessa and Elizabeth, we'll cover that stuff in just a little bit.
Yeah.
Water temperature, Andy?
No, actually, there was something about will it be dry? So yes, the last time I checked, and I'm calling it up right now, but the last time I checked, the forecast for that day was almost no chance of precipitation, 71 degrees, mostly sunny.
So perfect. Tell your friends to come.
I should double check that. And that's,
you can't ask for better than that. 71 degrees.
Yeah, no, it's dropping supposedly into the 60s, but still supposed to be nice.
Okay.
I think that evening, Saturday evening, there might be some rain coming in, but currently not in the morning.
But not in the morning. Okay. So water temp.
Water temp, we have been unable to get a temp. I was out at the beach the other day and it was just that storm that was going and it was freezing cold and I forgot the thermometer. We're going to get a water temp at the beach soon. We did get a water temp from a buoy offshore, which was 63 degrees. We know it's always warmer on the shore than it is off, a mile
That far,
offshore.
yeah.
So I think you can figure mid 60s to high 60s. Last year we had a warm day. It was, I think, 70 degrees, but water temp. But watch the Facebook page, and we'll certainly update the athlete's guide. We have someone who is trying to get a water temp today or tomorrow morning, right? And so if she gives that to us, we'll pass that on.
Right. So questions about poor air quality. I have not noticed.
Oh, there's
Any
the
dis-
smoke from the Western fire.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah, but I haven't personally noticed anything. I don't know if anyone else has. If they're in there.
Yeah, we're gonna keep an eye on that, but there have been triathlons on the West Coast and in the Rockies that have been severely curtailed because of smoke from wildfires. Hasn't happened in the Northeast yet, where the fires are is a long, long way away. But of course, we'll keep an eye on it and we'll communicate with you.
Right. So the next question is about the swim course. So that's all you.
Okay. What's the question?
The question is, are we actually going to make it 0.9 miles? So, I mean, you can explain why we haven't, in that sometimes we have to shorten it due to.
Yeah, we're at the mercy of the tides to some degree. There is a stretch of the course where shoaling the past few winters has made it so that it, where it used to be 7-8 feet deep under you, suddenly it's 4 feet deep. So we are shifting the course a little bit around. We can point that out when we get to it, as far as where your start will be and which direction you'll go at, and you'll come around the police, leaving all the police to your right shoulder as you go.
Oh,
So anyways, to answer you, I think there was one year where the piping plovers, a shorebird, were hatching and they forced us out of the area we had originally planned. And I think that swim was 0.6 or 0.7. And I'm sorry for that, because I know a lot of the good swimmers were upset. We're going to push to try to get it as far as we can. And once again, we can also update that as well. It will be certainly more than 0.7. I just don't know if we'll hit 0.8 or 0.9. Kind of depends.
We're going to do our best to
Right.
get to 0.9.
The harbor master also kind of tells us what to do. So we also have that to deal with. All
We
right.
just say thank you. The question about state championship prizes. So the Olympic is the adults or the age group state championships, and then the sprint is considered the high school state championship, even though, I mean, obviously others do it as well. But as far as state championships, everyone will be getting a certificate from USAT for both, for every category. And then usually, we give something else. So you'll have something else, but I won't tell you what. You will have the certificate, and then you'll have another award, whether you're Olympic, sprint, relay, elite, anything else. All of that, everyone gets, everyone who is eligible for an award will get one, not just the Olympic or sprint. If that made any sense.
Yeah.
It didn't, but okay.
Swimway is the entry 3 at a time, or is it 4 now?
No, we do 8 at a time. So we're doing 8 at a time, every 10 seconds, and then there's a minute break between each wave. So that's why it's kind of like a modified time trial wave. That gives a chance for the lifeguards to be able to see if someone's really lagging behind. It's going to be more obvious for them. So that's why we have that minute gap in between. With 8 across, we found that you're still not getting jostled as much. Like when we used to do wave starts, and you had 50 of your closest friends all starting with you. There was a lot of bumping around, but with 8, you can kind of spread yourselves out a little bit. So that's what we tend to do is 8.
Yeah, on the swim course, Olympic athletes, you will be looking for yellow buoys. When there's a buoy that is rectangular up and down, that is a buoy you are going to swim straight past. When it is a triangular buoy, and these are big, they're 9 feet high. When there's a triangular buoy, that's a buoy where you are making a turn. So
Yeah, and we're going to go to those maps in just a little bit. So.
Okay, and the sprint athletes, they're just orange buoys, so that's what you're looking for, no yellow.
Right. Okay, so let's show you. We'll show you that. Let me share my screen again. And there's a few other questions, but I think that some of those are going to be answered in this next section. And then if they're not, well, then we can certainly talk to you about it. Okay, so Andy was just talking about the bike course. I mean, yeah, about the bike course, but this is the sprint. So Andy, do you want to walk them through? Do you want to walk them through that?
Sure.
Wait, can I start with the swim? Because I realized that it looks like I used one of the ones with the older swim.
Yep.
If you're the sprint, if you're in the sprint and that swim scares you, it looks like you're going like way out in the middle of the sound. You're not. We actually kind of lengthen that a little bit, so you're a little closer to shore. What is it to do, like 100 yards out, 200 yards across, 100 yards back?
We try for 75, but we want to make sure we
Yeah.
make the distance. So,
Right.
yeah.
So yeah, so it's not as scary as that square might look to you. But go ahead, Andy. Sorry, I just totally
Okay,
interrupted
that's
you.
right.
Yeah.
There's a question about neoprene socks. I don't remember what.
No, nothing on your feet.
Nothing.
And it won't be below 64. That would be a big surprise. That if the buoy that's a mile out is 62, I would expect it to be more like, at least 65, 66, closer to the shore.
Okay.
But we'll get you the temperature.
All right. So what you're looking at with the red line is the sprint bike course. The Olympic bike course follows the same roads, but we have a little wrinkle in it, which we'll show you later, where you actually you don't make another full loop of the sprint course, but you make another partial loop of this one of the sprint course, and then you come back and you hit your 20 miles, which is as far as we can get this down. You'll come out of transition. You'll see the bike out flag. You should check this out beforehand to get a look. You don't ride your bike ever in the transition area.
I got all that.
You run to the bike mount, get on the bike, off you go up Craigville Beach Road. You're going to head into the town of Centerville, and Craigville Beach Road turns into Main Street. You're going to go along what looks like a little bit of a business district. There, you're going to make a left turn, quick left on Henry Street, and then a left on the park, then a right onto Bumps River Road. A large part of the bike is on Bumps River Road, which is that northern section. We're talking about up here. So you're on Bumps River Road. There is a sharp left here. There'll be warning signs. There'll be warning volunteers. There'll be, of course, officers at all of these. And that's one to kind of keep an eye on. And you take Bumps River Road, it actually turns into Pond Street at this intersection. You're bringing it down. Now you're into Osterville. And you're going to be making a left onto Osterville's Main Street. That is also a bit of a sharp left as well. Once again, there'll be a volunteer ahead of the intersection shouting at you. There'll be signs, there'll be officers. You're going to head down into Osterville Village, which is a quaint shopping village. But right before you get into the thick of the Main Street, you'll be making this right turn here onto Parker Ave. And there will be, once again, plenty of signs, plenty of people. Parker Ave is a pretty road that goes by some what used to be $1 million mansions. Now we call them $10 million mansions, I guess. And a nice golf course. It's a pretty view. It takes you down to the Hyannis area of Osterville. Now you'll see a left down there by the shore. I'll just circle it up here. That is also a sharp left. Seems like we've got a few sharp lefts on this course. We just want you to be aware of it. What did I do?
You just, yeah, there you go.
Okay. And now you're on Seaview Avenue. You're going to go past the Hyannis Yacht Club. You're making a sharp left again.
But yeah, there's nowhere else to go, so you're just following the road.
Right, you're following the road there. And but at these lefts, you don't want to take them at speed. I had a good friend, actually he's racing, but 10 years ago he was right behind me. I was still racing, not directing at that time. And it was an awful sound behind me as I went around that corner. You're gonna make a right turn on the East Bay Road and bring that up. Nice view from there. Right turn here onto Osterville's Main Street. And it turns into South Main as you get into Centerville, and you're going along here. Now the sprinters are you're going to see a lot see here. You'll see signs.
Right there.
No, that's not it.
Bay Lane.
Oh, that is it. Oh, Bay Lane. Okay, sorry. You're going to see signs. You're going to see, and signs will say Olympic athletes turn left, sprint athletes straight. You'll see volunteers shouting, police with the lights. You sprinters, just keep going straight. Forget about the commotion, and you're going to head up here to this intersection that you went through before. You might remember you went straight when you were starting the bike. You're going to make a right turn and you're going to come down to the transition area.
Do you want to mention that lane drop that these people?
Yeah, so I was just about to go into the lane drop.
Sorry.
As soon as she does that. Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So as we approach this right turn, it's a narrow part of the street. I mean, these streets were built in the 1700s, and there's only so much they can do. It's narrow there. Many, many years ago, this race is over 40 years old. The race director at that time worked with the town and the police to try to make this work for the bikes as well as for the traffic, because there will be some traffic, as I said, going in the other direction, and there might be a few of them going the same direction as you that will pass you on the road. So there will be a coned area on the right side of the road that think of it as almost like it's a bike lane. You're going to have to pull into that coned area and continue your ride on the bike before you make a right turn. You may see someone in front of you who's going slower than you. You wish you could go around them. You can't. It's a neutral zone. And if it's a neutral zone, it's fair for everyone. It's patrolled in the beginning of the bike lane, in the middle of the bike lane, at the end of this bike lane. And if you're slow and you hear someone behind you, then do the best you can to not inconvenience them too much. But on the other hand, don't gas yourself. The Olympic athletes, are we doing the entire sprint race, or do I mention the Olympic bike?
Well, you could. You want to do that?
Well, while we're on the
There
bike
you go.
course,
There's the Olympic.
yeah, on the bike course. So the Olympic athletes will have done the same loop with the sprinters. They've come around and they're at the what's that, 9 mile mark?
Yeah, a little past.
The 9 mile mark. And where that commotion is, you're going to make a left turn. Just follow the arrows, follow the direction of the staff and volunteers there. And this dotted line is Bay Lane, another pretty lane, and you'll take that all the way up to Bumps River Road, where you're going to make a left turn. Now, there'll be also plenty of warning signs here and plenty of staff and volunteers and police, because you're going to make a left turn, but you're going to be merging with athletes who perhaps they started later with their waves on the bike. And they are still coming on their first loop, early on their first bicycle loop. So please just exercise caution. You will see the lanes to follow, and but be aware that you are merging with other cyclists at that point. Then the rest of the bike for the second loop of the Olympics is the same route, brings you all around. Only this time when you get up to Bay Lane. And there's a hill before Bay Lane, so you're going slow. You get to see what's going on. You can go straight because you've done your Olympic loop, and you'll have that neutral zone to contend with, and then you'll go down to the transition area. There will be a dismount sign. There will be people barking at you to make sure you get off the bike and to slow down. And now you've got your bike.
Okay, so we're gonna do the whole course. So if you want to do
Okay.
a quick version of the run, because it's pretty much just a lollipop.
Yeah. So the run is start is out of the same quarter of transition as the bike start. And you'll see that when Kathleen shows it. You'll head up Craigville Beach Road. There will be a water stop. I'm going to move the cursor around here. All athletes, duathletes, there is a first run, which we didn't cover, but let's just talk about the triathlon because, that's.
I'll get to duathlon.
Yeah, we'll do the duathlon later. So you are going to go up here to what did I do?
You just keep touching things.
The
There you go.
Strawberry Hill Road. This is Strawberry Hill Road. It's a left turn, so you'll come up here. You'll be running on the left side of the road anyway, and you'll take Old Strawberry Hill. Then it's a right turn there onto Old Craigville Beach Road here, and then another right onto Old Town Road. Now, 100 yards on Old Town Road, you'll see another water stop, and there'll be Sarah Sport as well.
Mhm.
That stop.
So it's pretty-
And you follow to the end of Old Town Road, which is down here. You make a right turn. Now you're on Craigville Beach Road again. You're heading back. I should mention that the first mile or so is a little bit of an incline as you're going. Then it's even for a while, but that also means that your last mile or so is a decline. And so kind of keep that in mind for pacing. And you're going to follow Craigville Beach Road right down to the transition area. Olympic athletes, you're going to do this, and you're going to start heading down this slight decline as you're heading down toward the transition area. Only right about here where I've got my cursor, there will be a U-turn, and it'll be well marked. You'll see it here. It'll say Olympic athlete U-turn here. Sprint athletes and Olympic athletes finishing will still go straight at that point. So you make that U-turn, and you're just going to go around this little lollipop again. And now you're free to just take advantage of gravity and get yourself down to the finish line.
Right, very good, thank you.
Okay.
So the duathletes, Andy was mentioning them just a second ago, on your first run, where the Olympic athletes are doing their loop, but they're going this way much later in the race. You're going to be coming up at 7:30 when your race starts. You're actually coming up to that point, and you're making your loop going the other way. So that will be your marker as well. There'll be a sign facing you to say go around this, and that's where the water stop is. So hopefully that helps. All right. So for those who haven't been to Hyannis before, this is our transition area. We have now our registration tents look a little different, but they're in the same area. There'll also be bike support there. And the timing tent will be in that same area. Sierra Sport will be there. Food after the event is going to be in that same location. Over to the right of the building is porta potties. It looks like at that point there was a few there. Now we have like 10 porta potties. Plus there's the building. So if you're in the know, even though everyone's in line waiting for the porta potties, go around those and go inside. There's like nice, clean running water. And that's all in this little area over here. You'll come in the morning. You'll come in here. There will be somebody checking your brakes and your bar plugs to make sure that your bike is safe. And you'll be able to rack your bike, and we'll talk about where that racking is in just a second. Swim start is right over here. The Olympics are going to go out and around, and the sprint are going to go a little closer to shore, and then we'll show that in just a second as well. But wanted you to be able to see it here. So the finish line is on the outside of this parking lot. So your last 100 yards, we say, is on sand. So keep that in mind when you're running, save it a little bit more energy to be able to run on the sand. All right. So the splash and dash kids. So over in this area, it's kind of hard to see in this picture. Over in this area is where the run comes. You're running from the beach, from the swim. There'll be little kiddie pools there, and those are for you to be able to like wash your feet off if you want to use them. And then right beyond that is going to be where the splash and dash kids are set up, and that will be more obvious. And then that penalty tent we were talking about is going to be way over here on this other end on the left, over by bike out and run out, and then the run in comes along that way. So all that's going to be happening on that side. There's a water stop there. There's a water stop over here when you enter transition from the swim as well. So you're biking out over here on the left, you're running out over here on the left, you're running in on the left, you're you're swimming, as we say, swim in over here on the right, and then you're biking in over in this area here. Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so there we are. So there's the swim course. This is for of course, the sprint and the Olympic. The splash and dash kids are really going along the shore. So they're not on this map. But do you want to talk a little bit about the courses?
So the area of concern I was telling you about, where we've had some issues with trying to have the full Olympic swim be 9/10 of a mile, is over on the left-hand side, where you can see some shoaling that started. Well, it just has gotten worse, and so it's made it difficult for us to have the swim over there. This race, luckily though, starts this year hour and a half after high tide, so that might allow us to push over there some more. So what we're going to do with the start on the Olympic is we're going to head off to the east there. Once again, you get the round, kind of like cylindrical cones, and then you have the triangle cones where you're going to turn. We wish we could push the start line even further down the beach, but once again, we have the nesting shorebirds, and the Audubon Society is ready to jump on us if we make a wrong move. So we're going to
avoid those birds.
Abide by the rules.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll do that.
Okay. All right.
Someone asked, I'm trying to quickly go through the chat here about, are we posting the participant list on the website? I know some races do. A number of years ago, before Kathleen and I took over as race directors, there was quite a few athletes who had privacy concerns about that. So the races always sort of like honored that. So currently we do not have a participant list out in advance.
Okay. All right. So, and we can answer questions when we get to the end of this section, anything that hasn't already been covered. So Andy was talking about the Olympic swim start. These are the triangular buoys that he was referring to. So those are at the corners of the Olympic start. Of course, you're keeping your buoys on your right shoulder, please. All right. And this is what it looks like from the angle you'll be at. We have lots of lifeguards out in the course. Water safety is a huge concern for Andy and I. And so, we always make sure that we have, well beyond what the USAT requirements are for ratios for athletes to lifeguards. You can also hang on to, if you're new and you get out there and, you're having a panic attack, or you have a cramp or something like that, you can always hang on to a board. That's no problem. They can't take you anywhere, but you can hang on to the board, get your breath, fix your goggles, whatever it is, and then keep going. All right. And then for the sprint athletes, you're going to see these orange circular buoys. That's what you're looking for. So it will be obvious when you're out there. Again, you're keeping those to the right. There we are. That's a better view of it. So this is what they look like. You'll keep them to the right, and then you'll keep going. And there's the swim exits. We have the swim exit arch. You'll run up the beach and go into transition. and I keep calling the little ones splash and dash kids. They will be going through the arch as well. They're going after the sprint athletes have already finished their swim. So there won't be, it's not like you were going to have kids out there when there's adults in the water for the splash and dash. So the splash and dash is supposed to be very entry level, getting used to things. So we're certainly not going to put them in with any kind of adults. So once the adults are through, then the splash and dash will start. Bike out, this is what our flags look like. They're green. Of course, you will run your bike out and then you won't mount it until you get to the mount sign, which is right over here. You'll have some friendly volunteers that will be saying, you know, mount here, mount here. So once you mount your bike, you can be off on your way. And there we are. And then bike in, same thing. Of course, you're gonna dismount out on the road. And then you'll run your bike in from there. And then you can see that our in signs are red, meaning stop, green signs, go. So, so it's easy for you to remember. If you see a sign, you can be like, oh, wait, that's the opposite way I want to go. All right. And then for us, for our race numbers, last year we did tattoos, and it seemed like that was just a pain in the neck. So we're going back to the old Sharpie. So you'll be marked on your arm, your shoulder, and then also your age or relay, R for relay, D for duathlon, A for aquabike, goes on your shin. Then we will give you in your race packet, you'll have a helmet sticker, and then a bib number and a bike frame number. The bike frame number can either go right there on your crossbar or it can go on your post. It's up to you. But you must wear your bib on the run. You don't have to wear it on the bike. If you don't want to, that's up to you. But you definitely want to wear it on the run, and it needs to be facing forward when you're coming through the finish line. Speaking of finish line, which I didn't have in here, normally we have a company called Capstone Photos, and they've been taking photos for these races for years. The photos have been okay, you know, there's a lot of people going through. So this year we have a different method. You will get everyone will get photos. I will make them available after the race. There'll be your finisher photo. And then we have 2 professional photographers that are out on the course, one that we've had for years. If you've been lucky enough to have them take a picture of you and you be able to get it, then you know what I'm talking about. They're fantastic. So we'll have 2 professional photographers out on the course that are taking like really top-notch photos, and they will be available to you. There will be no charge for that.
We cannot guarantee that every participant will get a photo. Our finish line photographer will be taking
We'll
the
be doing,
photos,
yeah.
but you know,
Every once in a while, someone gets missed.
things can go wrong.
Right,
So just that's not a complete guarantee.
All right. And then for those that haven't raced with us before, we have post-race yoga with Terry. That will be on the beach. It usually starts around 9:30. She is in the sprint race. So once she finishes sprint, she gets a chance to catch her breath. She will announce it, and you can go out on the beach. You don't need a mat or anything else. But if you have a towel, great, bring it. The award starts at 10 a.m. roughly. It's all dependent on the timing, but that's what we aim for. And then the Olympics should start around 10:30. Remember, splash and dash kids are not timed, so they only get a finisher medal, but they do not get awards because they're not timed. All right, and we love when people bring family and friends and they make fun signs and they cheer. So please feel free to bring, to bring people with you and have them cheer you on. Ask them to cheer on everybody. Sometimes people stand there and read a book until their loved one comes through. Cheer everybody on. That's what they're there for.
If you have someone who's a little antsy and doesn't just like to stand there for a while, we're always happy to give them a job as a volunteer.
Right.
They get a T-shirt, they get some food, they get a little swag, and lots of appreciation from us.
Right. So, so we're going to go through the questions now and answer any other questions since that section's done. And then the last section that we have will be for first timers or someone who just has, a question about triathlon in general. So let's see. So where are we at here? Adrian asked about hills on the course. Andy was showing you that bike course. There are a couple hills, but they're not like, they're not super steep. They're just, they're Andy would call them rolling hills. I don't know if I would call them, yeah, I guess they're rolling hills, good rolling hills.
Kathleen and I, when we were racing in New England, we would always try to, if possible, ride the course, if not on the bicycle, at least by car, and kind of note things. Now I realize if someone's coming from a distance and they're only coming for the day, they're going to get up super early in the morning, they just can't do that. But it is something I suggest. Now, Kathleen and I, we can't race in the Northeast because our summers are too busy. So we race mostly down in Florida in the winter. So we never have to worry about hills. But that's another thing.
That's a different.
I would say from a strategy standpoint, you're going to be flat for a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile coming out of transition on the bike. You will start a climb. I don't think of it as a bad climb. It's relatively gradual. And then you flatten out, and then you get into basically rolling hills from much of the course until you get up to about mile 8.5 or so. And when I say rolling, that means 20-second climbs, and they're not out of the saddle climbs. They're generally, oh, okay, I've just got to work a little harder here. When you do get around 8.5 miles, there are two, I would consider them pretty good little hills. Still for a flat area like Cape Cod, it's not like this race is in New Hampshire, but they will get your attention. So kind of keep that in mind from a strategy standpoint. The last 3/4 of a mile to the transition is downhill, leading to a long flat. So that's a spot where you can really whiz along until you have to start slowing to dismount from your bike.
Right. So that last hill is at that lane drop that Andy was talking about before. So save a little energy because you can't pass. And it's never fun to be the one that's going slow and that there's all these people behind you kind of like breathing down your neck. In that case, don't worry about drafting there. You were asking about drafting. With the lane drop, it's single file. So no worries about drafting. The officials are pretty aware, sometimes you get on a course, let's say, if any of you have raced with Falmouth, well, like you've got 700 people in a small area. And so drafting, like you can't help that. But whenever, so the officials are aware that, sometimes the course is just crowded and just try to stay back as much as you can.
Are you able to share back to the bike course?
Maybe.
Just to answer a question here, and also something I forgot to mention.
Here, we'll keep talking and then I can go back this way.
I don't think that's
because I haven't shared it. Right,
Oh, okay,
right, watch.
All right, but while she's doing that, I'll tell you that the bike course is marked at the 5-mile mark, the 10-mile mark if you're an Olympic athlete, and the 15-mile mark.
Okay, let me show you the course.
There was a question about that map, which is on the website, and Kathleen showed it earlier, asking about those numbers, and those numbers are mile markers. On the Olympic map, there are mile markers for every single mile. Leading up to the 20 on the sprint map, they're up to the 10.
Right, but on the course itself, you don't have every mile marked. You only have 5, 10,
every
15.
5 miles. The run course does have a marker at every single mile. I know how important that can feel when you're gutting it out, trying to get to that damn finish line. Someone asked about changing from sprint to Olympic.
Sure, that's no problem. Tomorrow at noon, registration closes down and I have to get all the bib numbers and waves and all of that fun stuff. So if you want to, you can go into your own account. So when you guys registered, it gave you the option to create a participant account. If you go into your participant account, you can go ahead and make that change. So I would do that tonight or tomorrow morning. And then right off the bat, you're going to get the right bib, the right packet. It's going to have the right color on your bib and all that kind of stuff. If for some reason you're not able to do that, you can, if you're able to come Friday, remember Friday night, there's packet pickup 5 to 7. And then race morning starts at 5:30. So if you're able to come Friday night, it just won't be as hectic. And then we can change you there. Otherwise, pick up your packet and then head to the help desk race morning, and we can switch you there.
Okay. Is there a place to store, I'm sorry, bins for clothing, shoes at the swim start?
No, there's not.
Unfortunately not. If you're wearing a wetsuit, that kind of takes care of that problem because you can be warm inside the wetsuit, but I realize a lot of people will swim in their swimsuits.
Yeah.
And
So if you leave stuff on the beach, I'm the last one there, and I'll pick up stuff. I feel like, you know, like a mom with a bunch of kids, because you guys leave stuff all over the place. As a general rule, athletes tend to leave stuff
we
everywhere.
do have beach carts out on the
So
beach.
yeah, so I'll grab, if you end up leaving it there, particularly if you tell me, hey, I'm gonna leave this, like leave it right by the start, and I'll see it. We're gonna be talking all sorts with it before the race starts. You guys are gonna see me for so long, you're gonna be sick of me. So if you come up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take off my jacket now, and I'll say, oh, just put it right here by me, and then I will bring that to the help desk. So conversely, if you have a pair of radial shoes that your plan is just to leave them there, like some people are like, oh, I'm going to throw these away, and you leave them at the beach, I'm going to have to pick those things up and bring them to the help desk, because I don't know that you want to throw them away. So so please don't bring anything that you don't want me to touch.
There was a question about stowing gear while racing. In the transition area, there will be room for you to rack your bicycle. And underneath your bicycle and slightly to the side, you'll be able to put your gear, for example, your running shoes, if you're putting on bike shoes for biking. And of course, you have to put your helmet somewhere, your bike helmet, while you're swimming. There's not a lot of room there. Now, our bike racks are rated for 8 bikes on each rack, 4 per side. We have enough bike racks and enough real estate in this transition area where we are going to suggest that you rack 3 bikes to each side, or a total of
So
6.
6, I'll show that. I've got a whole
Yeah,
section
get
for
that
that.
there. What I do, this is just my own tip, Kathleen will probably tell me it's a bad, I shouldn't be saying this, is I'll look around. When I get there, I set up my bike, I put my gear under it. I don't want to be rude to the other participants and have stuff all over there or a big bag there, but I brought a big bag. What am I going to do with it? I'll look around, and often there'll be a spot, maybe over by a fence on the side of transition that's not in the way of people who are as the running routes as they're coming in or out. Or maybe it'll be at the end of the transition rack, that particular rack. They'll be like, oh, here's a nice spot where I can put this. That's my suggestion.
Okay, that works. Okay, so we asked sprint to Olympic, the numbers on the route, mile markers we talked about. We have bins of clothing. We've gotten that far. We're getting right through this list,
And
guys.
Sharpie markings, double check the athlete's guide there. You can see it better than our trying to explain it to you.
I'm gonna, if you'll stay on, that we've got like the next section of this meeting is all for first-time athletes, so we can talk through that and let everybody else go on with their evening. Emily, wetsuits are not required.
When I first did this race in the mid-1990s, I would say 80% of the participants did not have wetsuits. And only
Yeah, but now
perhaps
it's more.
20% did.
Yeah.
It has changed significantly, but there's you can still do it, and we don't want you to. We want you to learn to love the sport before you start spending tons of money.
That's yeah. So aquabike does start with whether it's sprint aquabike or Olympic aquabike. You usually start in one of the first waves for either of those categories. So you have a wave. You're usually in a wave with others. Usually it's Clydesdale, Athena's, Elites, things like that. But you start in the beginning of each of those distances. Potholes, Andy, when you were out there, did you see any potholes?
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. Over in Osterville, back where I was just talking about the $10 million homes that are there, that those roads that go along the road, that part of the bike route, you would think, oh, the roads must be immaculate because it's such a wealthy neighborhood. Well, the problem is all these people have all these landscapers and gardeners and service people and caretakers and everything else that are always going down the road and running it up. I did do the course the other day. I did not see anything significant. We do have a truck with patch, a asphalt patch in it. We have, for the last couple of years, filled up a few holes, usually in that spot on the course by the golf course area in the fancy neighborhood. So we'll try to stay up with it. Also, though, 2 years ago, you might be thinking of when the entire sewer system was being put in all around Craigville, and that was tough.
But that's done.
But that's done.
We're good.
Yeah.
So the other question was warm up, swim allowed. Good question, Adrian. You are allowed to warm up in the swim, but not once the race starts. So you need to warm up before 7 a.m. We can't have you guys warming up in the water when we have athletes swimming the course. The lifeguards need to be able to focus on them. You don't want to cause an issue with another athlete has an issue because the lifeguard was looking at you. Ed, the link, if you go to your confirmation email, or if you didn't have your USAT number, we've probably sent you several emails, and you can probably get into it that way. If anyone, I'm going to put here in the chat, Lori is, let me see if I can do everybody. I don't know why it's not letting me do that. Lori is one of our assistant race directors, and she loves to hear from people. So send her a note. And she can resend the like your confirmation email, and in that is a link to be able to get to your account. Or she can just help you otherwise, but she is absolutely wonderful and you'll love her. Okay, so the
participants, we haven't, we're so busy getting ready for the race, we haven't been checking the lists, but I think the last time I checked, which was maybe a week or more ago, when I think we were at 550 signed up so far, maybe it was 300 sprint, 200 Olympic, and then 50 in some of those other categories like duathlon or aquabike. So,
yeah, something like that.
yeah, it will grow because we have like 35 people a day signing up right now. As tomorrow at noon is the cutoff. Mention that to any friends that have been telling you they want to sign up. We will allow for night before registration and day of registration, but that's an early morning, and if you want to save those hassles, the weather forecast is already good, so go ahead and sign up online.
Right. So also the registration closing tomorrow at noon. Anyone who wants to sign up after that, like race weekend, it's an extra $10. Excuse me. $10 for individuals. I think it's $15 for relay teams. So you can save yourself a little money, or your friends a little money if they sign up. They sign up now online. All right. So now we're going to go into anyone that we have online who wants to stay with us for this last section, which is all new to triathlon kind of stuff. Feel free to throw questions in the chat. But we're going to cover a whole bunch, and you might be able to answer your question along the way, but if not, throw it in the chat. And we'll help you. So Elspeth asked about what do we need to bring to pack or pick up? You need to bring your ID for sure. If you are already a USAT annual member and you use that to register, and excuse me, and we haven't been sending you emails saying you have to finish your registration and do this USAT thing, that means your USAT number went through. If that's the case, you don't have to actually bring that card, but you can always bring it just in case. If you've gotten a 1 day, usually it just goes through the system, but you can always send yourself that email if you're not sure where that is, and bring that with you as well. So that way, so we can get your packet. So that's it. Just bring all your gear. Please don't bring buckets or like dish pans, things like that. Those are things that people trip over. So you can put all of your stuff, and I'll show you in just a minute. You can put all your stuff right by your bike without having things that, you know, that might hurt somebody else out there, or you yourself might trip over it.
I should see if some people I know are still on this, Zoom, who we've been trying to talk out of the buckets.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We're not going to call anybody out.
All right.
So Jenny, I'll be posting the waves, the swim waves, probably Thursday morning, because registration closes tomorrow, and then I have a whole bunch of things to do to make sure who I have, how many people I have in each wave, and so that dictates where your 14-year-old will go. Most likely it would be early in the sprint. Normally I have the kids going off one of the first waves.
The athlete's guide will be updated continually right up to, I think, Thursday evening or even Friday.
Thursday evening, Friday, that's it, it's done. We do not have people helping you get out of wetsuits. That's Ironman. So sorry, Jackie. You have to get out of your own wetsuit, which can be quite a challenge, at least for me personally. All right, so let me go back on to a screen share. And I got a bunch of other stuff for those of you that are still on. All right, remember the athlete's guide. You can get to it this way. I showed you a longer URL before, but if you just go to Hyannis Triathlon, and then you'll see there's a big button, and just click it, and that'll be easy to remember. All right, so if you're new to triathlon, this is what transition looks like. This is transition from Hyannis. You can kind of see the little sign right there. This is coming from the registration tents. So you'll come over here. You'll see there's these sandwich boards, and one's for Olympic and one is for sprint. And Andy, I always forget which one's which. So the Olympic is over by the road, and the sprint is over by, I don't know why I can't remember.
Yes,
It's over by the
the
beach.
Olympic is closest to the
So this
street.
is Olympic. And then
sprint
here's
is
sprint.
closest to the beach, and there's big signs telling you, so you'll see it when you walk into.
I've never been able to get that straight. I don't know why. So, and I helped set up the racks. I still don't remember. So, so I'm going to show you in just a second what transition looks like for you. But you can notice that, you know, there's up to 8 bikes on a rack. They should each be facing the opposite direction. I'll show you that in a second too. Everything in here is secure. Somebody had asked about like security in the transition. You're bringing your bike race morning. You're not leaving it overnight. We have the whole area is closed off to spectators. The only people that are in here are either volunteers, staff, or other athletes. We have never had a security issue. And we like to think that we never will. People that go in and out are checked by a volunteer, just, make sure that they're actually an athlete, or volunteers are kind of obvious. They're usually wearing red shirts. New England Endurance Event crew are wearing bright yellow shirts. Some of them are green. And then anyone with a red shirt, you guys can see mine, see right here. So this is a captain shirt. It's red. It's a polo shirt. Anyone with a captain shirt should be able to answer any of your questions, or find someone that can answer your questions. So you'll see me, you'll see Andy around. Scott is our swim
Swim director.
Swim director. I was going to say coordinator.
John is our bike director,
Right.
and Jeff is our run coordinator.
And Dawn is our assistant race director.
director.
So, so any of us can answer, your questions. If you have whatever issue, we're here to help you. All right, so we've got this transition. It looks kind of scary if it's your first race, but it's not. You're going to find your spot. But before you actually get all the way into transition, you can see the picture I had before was kind of like behind these guys. So you're going to have a volunteer that's going to check these are the bar plugs. So if you have a bike that has like the Ram handlebars, or it has these that go straight across, there's a little plug right here and right there. You want to make sure that yours has those. If you don't, and your bike is like the Ram one where like the handlebars go the other way, if you were to crash on that, it could impale your abdomen, because there's nothing stopping it. It's like just metal, just goes right in. So it's really an awful, awful thing to see and to feel. So make sure you have bar plugs. If you don't have any, we always have spare, and they're at the bike support tent, and that's C Sports. So So you can go there, but if you can check beforehand, that's helpful. The other thing that he's going to do is check your bike brakes. That looks like what he's doing right there. So the volunteer is going to make sure that your bike brakes, both brakes are working, because we certainly don't want you going down the hill without any brakes.
C Sports is a bicycle shop that is kindly sending several of their people over. They've done it for years to they can't tune up your bike. They won't have that kind of time. There's a lot of people, but if there's an issue, you get there and it's like, oh no, what's going on here? They could give it a quick look for you.
Right. Or, blow up your tires before you come, but sometimes someone comes and they're like, oh, shoot, I thought that was more blown up. They've got air pumps. They can fix pretty, simple stuff for you. There we are. There's C Sports. So C Sports is located in Hyannis. And I think their website is csportcyclery.com. They're great. So here they've got some, some pumps right there for air, and then they'll help you any way that they can. So I was talking about bike racks, like how you're racking your bike. So you see how this bike is racked by the seat? That's how you rack bike. And it's racking towards you. So you take your bike and you tuck it underneath that bar, so that way your seat becomes a hook right there. And then it's in front of you. So it seems counterintuitive. When I first started, I always thought, well, I should be at the back because I can put my stuff right under the tire. But no, you want your bike facing you. Don't worry about putting your shoes on your bike if you have clips, unless it's something you've been practicing. Don't ever do something new on race day. And also don't ever eat anything new the night before a race. So you always want to do whatever it is you've been doing in training on race day. So here it looks like, I'll show you a better transition picture, but all of this person's belongings are right here in this one little spot. They should be on the right of the bike tire, but splitting hairs there. Just make sure that it's all contained. So there we go. So there's one. They've got like a little towel they've brought. They have their helmet, which has the bike number on it. They have their bike shoes, or maybe they have their sneakers. Somebody else has their water, the water bottle here. So these guys are like close to each other. So you can see how everything is kind of contained within that little space. So the idea is that you line it up the way that you're going to be racing. So first you're going to be wearing your wetsuit, or maybe not a wetsuit. You're going to have your swim cap with you. You're going to have a timing chip on your left ankle. You're going to have your goggles. So you're going to make sure before you go out on the swim that you have those things with you. I've got my timing chip. I've got my goggles. I've got my swim cap. And then you can go out, then you'll be able to go out to the water. At your bike, you have your bike shoes, you have your helmet, you have your sunglasses. If you need, if you have like goo or something like that, you can line all of that stuff up. Now, before you take your bike off the rack, you need to have your helmet on. It needs to be buckled. It's a USAT rule. So you put on your helmet first, you buckle it up, you get your shoes, you get all your stuff, out you go. In the meantime, this person must be out on the run, because normally if you have different running shoes, your running shoes are going to be there too. So that way, when you come back from the bike, you've got everything right there. And you're like, okay, I take off the bike shoes. I put on my run shoes. I put on my, my cap, I have my sunglasses, off I go.
If you don't have bike shoes, don't worry about it. There's plenty of other athletes who will just put on their running shoes after their swim and have flat pedals on their bike.
Yeah, that's no problem at all. Don't worry about that. It actually makes your transitions much faster. So I mentioned something about swim caps. So one of the things I didn't mention before, but I'll tell you guys, we have a red cap system. So if you are anxious in the swim, or maybe you have a medical condition, you're like, I'd really like some extra eyes on me when I'm swimming, then ask for a red cap when you go to pick up your packet. So it's no problem. The volunteer or the staff member that's at registration will just, sometimes they'll ask you to switch caps. They'll give you a red cap. You stay in the exact same wave that you have, whatever wave you've been assigned. But when you're in the water, lifeguards will notice you more. So, so that way, some people are just like, this is my first time in open water like this. I really want to make sure that they see me. So ask for a red cap and they will. All right. So in transition, although your bike is in transition, you're never riding your bike in transition. You're always walking it. So, or running it. So you will run your bike out until you get to the a sign just like that, but it will say mount. Outside, will be out on the road. And then when you're coming in, you do the same thing. There'll be a sign that will say dismount. There'll be people yelling at you, telling you to dismount. And then you will run your bike or walk your bike back to the transition area. So here is a insider tip. We don't have bike numbers on the racks. You can rack anywhere you want as long as it's within the right distance, like Olympic or sprint. Or if you're relay, you've got a relay. There's racks just for relay teams. Otherwise, you can really go anywhere you want. The problem is you have to remember where you racked your bike, particularly when you have your bike with you. So what I found, you recognize your bike, right? So you come out from the swim, you're like, oh, I see my bike. It's easy to spot. But when you're with your bike, because you're coming in from the bike, now you've got to find all your stuff. So normally what I do, I don't know if I've got a good picture of that. All right, we'll just use this as an example. So the transition area is kind of behind us here. I look for something like across the street. I look for a window or a door or a sign, and then I rack directly across from that. So then I know, okay, my bike is at the red sign and I'm 2 rows over. And then that makes it a lot easier for you to find. We and other veteran triathletes that we know have spent minutes searching the transition area, trying to find where they're supposed to be racking their bike. And, they should know better than that.
Speak for yourself.
Well, all right. Well, not you. I was talking about mostly Robin. He spent 10 minutes looking for his bike.
Yeah, some people do even something like they'll put a colorful ribbon on their bike so that they can see it within it.
Right. But when you have the bike, you can't, that doesn't work.
What do you mean when you have bike?
If you're coming in from
bike,
from the bike, like then now what do you do? So, and you can't use balloons. We cannot have any balloons in transition. So it's not, I think I've had some people say, well, I'm going to put a balloon on my spot. It's not allowed. So,
so I think what Kathleen and I often do is, as we're getting squared away before the race, one of the things we do is we count, okay, 3 rows down, 4 racks over, or something along those lines, so that you can remember where you are. And sometimes it's worth it to just go take a corner of the transition, because okay, I'm over in that corner and on the last rack in that corner, and then you don't have to worry about being in the middle and just like standing there looking around, wondering.
Dumbfounded look on your face. I have no idea where I put my stuff.
Those of you who have trouble when you park your car at the mall.
Then definitely make sure you find a sign to go to. So so this person has just dismounted their bike, and you see that there's the young woman on the left. She's already dismounted. The gentleman on the right, he's getting ready to. And so that's what you're doing at that sign. Those volunteers there are saying dismount. You have to dismount before you get to the sign, because we certainly don't want you riding your bike through transition. So we will definitely be telling you that. So, and then here, so this is what they're doing. So they were on the road, they dismounted, and now they're running their bike in, and they'll go over timing mats. So these black right here, it kind of looks like it's a shadow, but they're actually timing mats. That's what your little timing chip is connecting with. So that's how we know when you've come into transition or when you've left transition. All right. And then that's it. You did it. After the race, you are welcome to what used to be the registration tent is now the food tent. We have Subway sandwiches. And then we also have other prepackaged foods, things like granola bar and Rice Krispie treats and things like that. And then water, you'll get a water bottle. It's our finisher bottle. You'll have a New England Endurance Event logo, as well as Nauset Rental, who's one of our sponsors. If you are not from the area and you have not found a place to stay yet, I would say get on that really quick. And you want to stay for the week. Nauset Rental is a short-term vacation rental company, and they're absolutely wonderful.
We're already halfway into the week.
I know, that's what I said. If you don't have a place, you better hurry up.
Your next trip.
So anyway, so we have food for you after the race. You'll have your water bottle, which you can refill. We have we call them water monsters. There's big, giant, like blue water tanks, and you're welcome to fill up your water bottle there. One of the things that, another one of these little transition tricks that I do, I always bring an extra water bottle with me. I have a water bottle on my bike, and then I bring an extra water bottle just in case. Like, so I don't like putting my feet in the, there's like the little kiddie pools when you first come through the swim, but sometimes that's crowded. Sometimes I'm afraid like I'm going to slip and, and fall. And so I just have a little water bottle and I squirt that on my feet because you want to get the sand off before you put your shoes on. So, so that's something to, to consider. There will be water stops on the run, but if you like water at your own times, then bring a little, a little hand water bottle that you can have on the run. All right, who has questions? All right. Not many. So David asked a question. Whoops.
Worried about the swimming and the choppy water. I hate to promise anything, but yesterday I looked at the maritime forecasts, and the wind at that time, and I didn't check it before this meeting, but the wind at that time was that it was going to be coming from the north. And since this race faces the south, that means that the wind is going to come off the land and we get the calmest waters at that time.
Right, but we can't guarantee it.
We can't guarantee that, but I was like very happy to see that because we want you to have a good time,
Right.
and some of our newer swimmers have a good time. So we do have kind of guidelines when it gets too choppy, and we have to perhaps shorten the course. That's something we've done when it gets too choppy, and sometimes the swim has been canceled. It's replaced perhaps by
a run on the beach.
Beach run is what we did last time it happened, which was in 2017. So
right. So at least that's been a while. So David, you can always you're not the only one that's anxious on the swim. Ask for a red swim cap. And then if you're not in the newbie wave, we call it newbie wave, first timer wave, then we can swap you to that. The advantage of the first timer wave, it always goes last with the friends and family wave. The idea is that you're not going to have like this, someone who's been doing triathlon for 20 years and is trying to like ram through the swim. They're not going to swim over you, which doesn't always happen. But they're, you're not going to get jostled around. So normally in the first timer wave, everyone else that's in that wave is also pretty anxious in the swim, and they don't really like being touched in the water, which I get. So if you bump into somebody in the water and you're in that wave, normally it's like, oh, sorry, rather than with the age groupers and they just elbow you. So if you are currently in the age group wave and you're anxious to swim, I would suggest the newbie wave. As far as age group awards, like you won't get an age group award, but you could get a newbie award. So that would be my first recommendation. So Jenny asked about breakfast before a race.
Still, it's wind 5 miles an hour from the north, so that's good news.
Is that projected or is that today?
That's Saturday. That's the weather forecast.
All right. So Jenny asked about breakfast. Jenny, I'd ask, what have you been doing when you're training? If you've been eating some breakfast, then I'd say keep doing that. Would you agree with that? And do that. Most people don't eat right before the race, though.
If you do have if you are able to train, I know you don't want to train too close to the race or certainly train hard, but if you plan to go out for a run tomorrow or Thursday anyway, you may want to try something and see how it goes. We tend to say, stick with your normal routine, have some extra nutrition in your bag, because you never know, like, oh gosh, I'm hungry, I need a cracker, something like that,
Right.
while you're waiting to start the swim or something along those lines. But I tend to go with just carbohydrates myself, a bagel, maybe put some protein on it with a peanut butter, but everybody's got their own technique. Bananas,
Right.
You're big on bananas.
Yeah, I usually do
Rice,
banana and a granola bar. But then I eat a little bit before, like a lot of people will say, don't eat at least an hour before the race, because you don't want your belly to be working on all this food you put in there, and then you go out on the run. Like, doesn't always work out well. So, so make sure, whatever it is you've been doing before you go on runs, it's probably pretty safe.
You can put calories in your water bottle. There are products out there like Sarah Sport. But we tend to say, well, it's a short race. If it was a long race, I'd say don't take something you haven't taken before.
Sorry about that. Here, I'm gonna go off.
That can help. And if you're doing the Olympic on your first go around, at least on your first go around on the run course, your first loop around, I'd put some Sarah Sport in me.
Yeah. Sarah Sport's actually, we've tried like all sorts of different hydration products, and the reason why Sarah Sport, I asked Sarah Sport if they would provide products for our race, is because it's good. Like, it tastes good. Give it a good shake. Like when you put it in, if you put it in your water bottle, and of course, never try anything new on a race day. That's what I say. But we'll give it a good shake when it's, we have our big containers, and, so you're getting some, little, grit, like you don't want, some of those products sometimes are a little bit gritty. So, we'll be giving it a good shake for you. But if you purchase some, or you've got some in you'll get a little container, a little thing in your swag bag. If you want to put that on the bike, just give it a good shake. And it's actually tastes good. So that would be a product I would use. Abby, you can use a Camelback for water. That's no problem. Matthew, we don't provide race belts, that a bib holder strap. So if you have one, bring it. Otherwise, if you're wearing a wetsuit, then you can safety pin your bib number to your shirt. If you're not wearing a wetsuit, you don't want to, then you don't want to wear that shirt in the water. You don't want to wear the running bib in the water. It will come off and then probably rip your shirt because it was because you safety pinned it.
Yeah. Yes, of course, hybrid bikes are allowed. They're welcome. Mountain bikes are what you'll see some out there on the course. E-bikes, no.
No e-bikes.
No. Even if you say, hey, the battery's not in it, sorry, we can't.
Right, can't do that. So, question with so if you are a newbie or an aqua biker, those are two different categories. So if you're signed up for aqua bike, Maya, then you're going with the aqua bike, because that's only swim bike. Newbie Wave is the full triathlon. So if you want to run and you want to like switch your category, then I put Lori's email in there. And I'm going to put it in the chat again, and then just email Lori, or if you can get into your athlete account, then you can switch your category there. But otherwise, for anybody else who's on with Aquabike tends to go first, or one of the first few waves. And although some aquabikers are not super fast, there are some that I found were quite competitive. So if you're anxious in the water, that's probably you just want to kind of stay a little to the side of the swim course, kind of stay over a little bit, so you're not like smack in the middle of some guy trucking you down.
Sasha has a question about wetsuits, and Sasha, wetsuits are a often discussed topic among triathletes, so we're happy to wade into a little bit on it. At this point, with the race so close, I would be nervous about suggesting that you get a wetsuit. You really need to get a couple of swims in with a wetsuit and start feeling comfortable with it. Some people, especially when they're not used to wearing a wetsuit, they buy one, they put it on, they think, oh, it's okay, I'm fine. But then all of a sudden they realize it's really claustrophobic to them, or it really is pressing on the chest, or it's, we always have people at many of the races. I'm on the board as a spotter out there on the water, and there's always a couple of people who are actually like, hey, your wetsuit's unzipped. Yeah, I know, I can't stand it. And they're swimming with an unzipped wetsuit.
Right, which is like an anchor.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the time to get a wetsuit and swim with it a couple of times before the race on Saturday, you may want to, but I wouldn't suggest going to your surf shop or your sports or Dick's. I don't even know if Dick's sells them, but that what they're going to sell are kayakers wetsuits or surfers wetsuits. And you'll find that those really don't help, except perhaps make you a little bit more warm. But on the other hand, they could slow you down because the water sort of like gets into it, and next thing you know, it's starting to create drag. There are most triathletes who use wetsuits, they use triathlon wetsuits. They're meant for swimming. One of our sponsors is Blue 70, an extremely good wetsuit manufacturer. We do have a discount code
We do.
with them,
Yeah.
which I could find and put into the chat. But there are no stores. If you're in the Boston area, Fast Splits, look it up. That's a great triathlon store. They do have wetsuits in stock, and they have a couple people there just fantastic at fitting. But I can't really think of any other shops in the greater Boston area.
And
that have
well,
wetsuits.
and a wetsuit, if this is your first triathlon, don't spend a ton of money. Don't go out and buy a new wetsuit. And some of the wetsuits, Fast Splits is an excellent shop. But they've got like really nice wetsuits, and they're like $300 or more. Like, you don't want to be spending that. If you've been swimming without a wetsuit, then do that. To Andy's point, he was talking about like the surfer wetsuits. They're really only for warmth. Some people will be like, oh, you have to wear a wetsuit, like somebody else who's been doing triathlon. They're talking about the neoprene wetsuits, which are meant for swimming, and they give you buoyancy. There's like no, they're not porous at all. So that makes them feel really claustrophobic, particularly if you haven't been wearing it. I think of it as now I'm aging myself, but before seatbelts, when you started wearing a seatbelt, it felt really constrictive because it was like, oh my gosh, there's something against my chest. And we were all free willy and, in the cars, and, you didn't have that sort of thing. It took a while to get used to it. Well, it's the same thing with a wetsuit. Once you're used to swimming in a wetsuit, you kind of expect that it feels, when I'm like putting my hand here, it's because that's usually where you feel the constriction, the tightness. I have a sleeveless because I'm really claustrophobic, and having the arms, like having my whole body covered in wetsuit is just more than I can do. So I have a sleeveless, but you still feel that pressure on your chest because it's meant to be snug. And some people, if you haven't been wearing that and you're not used to it, and then you go in a race and you're already going to be anxious, it's your first race. And people that have been racing forever still get anxious in their first, when they first start the swim. So you're already going to be anxious, and then you're getting in the water, and the water looks much longer and much bigger than you thought it would. It's just the way it is. And then you've got this wetsuit you haven't been wearing. You don't want to, I don't want you to panic. So speaking of panicking, my advice to anybody that is just starting off, this is your first race, take your time going out on the swim. Some people would be like, it's a race, you should go really fast. But your anxiety is going to be up. It's just the way it is. So if you start off, you're going to run into the water, and then you're going to dive in, and then you're going to start swimming. Your heart rate's way up here. Your heart rate was already pretty high because it's your first race, and now it's even higher. And now you're swimming, you're realizing that you're over your head. Even if you're a great swimmer, sometimes it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's all these people around me. So if you take your time getting to the first buoy, that first buoy is usually where we see most of the panic. It's coming up to the first buoy when people realize, oh, this is real. And those people that took their time getting there, take your time getting there. It's like, well, no big deal. I don't need to win anything. I'm just out here trying to figure this out. And then you get to the first buoy, and you say, this feels pretty good. Then go as fast as you want, but just kind of get through to the first buoy, get your heart rate, kind of get the feel of the water before you go taking off. So that would be my advice. If you're wearing a wetsuit, make sure that get a little water under your suit. Like I usually open up my my top a little bit. I let a little water in before I start swimming because it separates the wetsuit from my skin, because the wetsuit kind of sucks in onto your skin, particularly if you had been like, if you had gone and you had practiced beforehand, which you should do, then it tends to stick to you a little bit. So if you let a little water in, it gives you a little more room, and that will help you breathe a little bit better. Backstroke is fine, Jade. Any stroke is fine as long as you are the only one doing it. No one can pull you along. But you can hang on to, I was saying before, you can hang on to a board. So we have lifeguards out there, and spotters out there. They're there for you. So if you need to hang on to their board, you can just hang on for a second. They'll ask, are you okay? And you'll say, yep, just hanging on. And then when you're ready, you can take off. If you're swimming along and your stroke's looking a little funny, like maybe you're not okay, people are going to ask you, hey, are you okay? And if you say, yeah, good, no problem, then you keep going. If you're not okay, you give them a scared look is usually the first sign, or you say, like shake your head. If you can put up your arm, that's fine. And they will make sure to come to you and grab you. So, they are, lifeguards are professionals. They're there, and Andy will be out in the water. And Andy's a lifeguard as well. So they're there to make sure that you're okay. So if you're not okay, then let somebody know in some way. And normally they spot you anyway, but just in case, and and they'll be able to get you. They can take you out of the water if need be, whatever's necessary.
Do the duathletes all start at the same time?
Yes. So duathlete, there's about 24 of you. So it will be a mass start. Mass 2 dozen.
Not that big.
Yeah, it's not that big. All right. So drafting rules again. Sure, Rhonda. So drafting is when you've got a bike in front of you. And if you get up close to them, then the airflow that goes around them kind of creates this nice little slip behind them. And if you're in it, then you don't have to work as hard. So that's illegal. It's not fair. So that's what when they say drafting, that's what we're talking about. So the rule used to be you had to be 3 bike lengths, and they have, I don't know how many meters it is, but nobody ever, you're not measuring it, you're on the road. So, so usually you can think about it 3 bike lengths ahead. They realize that you're still kind of in a little bit of that airstream. So there's still a benefit to it. So then now they made it 5 bike lengths. So if you think about how far that is, you think your bike is what, 5-6 feet, right? 5
Right.
feet. So 5, yeah. So that's like 25 feet ahead of you. That's what's ideal. That's going to keep you safe from drafting. If you're the one in the front, somebody's coming up behind you, they are supposed to stay back, or they say, okay, I'm gauging myself. I see that I'm going considerably faster than they are. I want to go ahead and pass them. You want to do that within 20 seconds. So you need to make sure that yep, I can they call it overtaking. I can overtake that person. And then you're going to get ahead of them. You're going to give them plenty of room. And then you're going to go in back over on the right side, and you're going to keep going.
You want to stay on the right. If you just ride on the left side, you'll get a penalty.
Right. And it's not safe.
For what they call blocking. And you also have to stay in the right lane. You cannot use the entire road, both lanes of a road.
Right. So that's just
the opposite direction. Football fans, you could think of the drafting zone, the new drafting zone, as about 10 yards, which is sometimes easier to visualize than 25 feet. Well, not for you, maybe.
But either way.
But yeah, just as someone watches football, you
works.
kind of get a sense as to what 10 yards is, because there's a hash.
There's lots of those little
lines every
marks.
10 yards.
Right.
Okay.
So so whether you're you're coming up to somebody and you want to pass, and if you come up to somebody and you can't pass yet, maybe there's somebody, before you pass anybody, glance over to your left and make sure somebody else isn't coming behind you. Everyone should say, when you're passing, you should say on your left. So that way somebody knows not to veer into you, but they don't always say it. And so if somebody's coming up behind you and you didn't see them and you go to move over to pass, you might end up running into them, or they run into you, and then both your races are over. So, so before you go to pass somebody, just glance back, make sure that there's nobody there, or maybe an oncoming car. Sometimes cars there's not a lot of cars in the course, but sometimes somebody ends up on there, and you want to make sure that you're not getting, that you're not getting in his way or her way, for sure. If you're the one being passed, as soon as you see someone says on your left, or you see somebody coming, you got to back off a little bit, let them go ahead and pass you. Maybe you'll pass them later on, that's fine. But you don't want to be blasé, they're talking about blocking. You don't want to block them from being able to pass you, because then it creates this, unsafe situation where you've got two bikes that are side by side. You can't be riding side by side. Andy also mentioned, you're not taking up the whole road, you're only taking up the lane. So there's no crossing the yellow line for obvious reasons. We don't want you getting hit by a car head on. Those are the main rules. The other one on the bike, those are all safety rules, but we take them seriously. USAT takes them seriously. The other big one, which I should have mentioned when I had everybody on, was earbuds or music in general. You cannot have that on the course, not even on the run course. We don't want anything in your ears or anything that's distracting you from what's going on around you, whether it's race announcements or it's cars or it's other racers that, you might end up getting in their way and then you get hurt or if they get hurt. Nothing, focus on the race. What other little
Is there any more questions?
things? I don't know. How do I switch the newbie category, online or email? Lori, Jade, if you can go into your athlete account, then you can do it. If you can't get into your athlete account or you get in there and you go, what is all this? Then email Lori. Her daughter is at prom right now. So she might be free. So give her a try. She's going to try to deal with any emails tomorrow morning before we close registration and I pull everybody's stuff. But Jay, better for you to do, to go ahead and try to do it yourself or reach out to her tonight.
I think you covered it on the drafting, but
Okay.
there's always people who like to bicycle together side by side, and you can't do that in this race for kind of
Please don't
obvious
do that.
reasons at this
Yeah,
point.
just not safe.
There's people who like to run together too, and I mean that can work for a while, but please just be aware of where you are on the course and whether or not two people running together is not going to be inconvenient for other athletes who are trying to get past you.
Yeah. We've got just 16 of you left, so I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys sticking it out. Are there any other, let's see, Ed asked, was in my registration emails looking at some reminder announcement emails. Ed, if you can't find that email, you can't find the link, then email Lori. It's in the chat a little farther up.
No, I found it. You were right. I found the email. I was looking at some later emails that didn't have it. My
Okay.
original registration had it.
Okay, good. That's where I was hoping. Okay, so I think that the other thing for you guys to know, packet pickup is we have it Friday night 5 to 7, or you can do it in the morning. If you come Friday night to pick up your packet, we also have a race clinic. So I think it's either me or it's both. So it's either me or Scott. Scott is our swim director. That will do the meeting. We'll kind of go over the course with you a little bit. We'll answer any other questions you might have. And then afterwards, there's a swim at your own risk. By then the buoys will be out. They'll be just little ones because you can't put out the big ones till the morning of the race, but you'll see these little yellow, like soccer balls that are out there, and we'll swim through at least one or two of those. So you kind of get an idea, you can kind of get a feel for the water. So if you want to do that, that's perfectly fine. It is at your own risk. Or if you just want to come and like ask any other questions or something like that, then that's at 5:30 on Friday. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions? At this point, you guys can just put on your mic and tell me. No. All right.
We're good.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you. Thank you guys all for being on. Thank you for racing with us. We look forward to seeing you on Friday night or Saturday.
Get good sleep
Yeah.
the night before, because it's hard to get a good sleep the night
Right.
before the race. So that means Thursday night. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thursday night.
Thursday
into
night, get a
Friday
good
morning,
sleep.
Try to get as much sleep as you can for that one, because that's the one that will carry you through.
Right. Even we don't sleep Friday night. So yeah, don't expect to sleep Friday night, but Thursday night, nice sleep, have a nice meal. And you guys will be good. You'll be great. Don't worry. Remember, this is like, if this is your very first race, you're already a step ahead, right? So just go out, have a good time. You'll see us there, say hello. So we'll see you later. You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.